Okay, let's just for a moment consider the following three diagrams. Here we have a 9x9 Go board. And what we have to understand about Go is something about the dynamics, the way those points, where those points lie on the board. So here we've got 81 points available to the two players. But when we think about it, actually here we can see that along the first two lines, lines 1 and 2, where they're marked in green, lie 56 of those points. So 56 of the 81 points available are on the two lines around the edges and in the corners. And the corners, you can see each corner contains actually 8 available points on those first two lines. And if we played a stone on the 4-4, we would on the 3-3, sorry, on the G3 point, we'd be pretty much guaranteeing those 8 points were our 8 points. So that's what happens on a 9x9 board. So let's move on. Let's have a look at a bigger board when we start to play on 13x13. On a 13x13 board, as you can see, we've got 169 points available for the two players. But again, when we look at the dynamics, where we look at where those points are located, actually those points are located here. Again, on the first two lines of the board, lines 1 and 2, lie 96 of those available points. So 56% of the board sits out on those edges, out on those two lines. And if we flip back, when we look at a Go board, what we see this big space in the middle, and we think the space in the middle is big, but actually that's an illusion. Where the points lie, and it's particularly on line 1, because the points on line 1 are easy to capture, they've got a protected edge, and in the corner's got a protected corner. That's where the points lie. This is why when we play Go and when we do Go openings, we start to see the game develop from the sides, where the highest density, the highest concentration of points is, the corners, where the highest density of points lies, along the sides, and then finally into the centre. And now let's look finally at the full-size Goban. So a Goban is 19 lines by 19 lines, which means there are 361 points available to the two players. And again, where do those points lie? Well, if we look, actually those points lie on the first 3 lines. And if we look at the green area, the 3 lines around the edge contain over half of the points. 53% of those points lie on those first 3 lines. And again, we look at a Goban like this, and it looks huge. The centre looks huge, it looks massive, but actually 53% of those points lie along those 3 lines. And again, this is why when we play opening moves, we're often playing an opening move on the 4-4 in the corner, because behind that 4-4 point, we can see there's actually 15 points of territory that you're almost putting in the bank straight away. Of course, it's vulnerable to an invasion on the 3-3, and it's why some players like to play the 3-3, because it actually guarantees them a dozen or so points from the outcome. The other thing to remember on a full-size Go board is we've got 361 points available for capture, for surrounding. And in most games of Go that go to account, the players will play somewhere between 230, 240 stones, maybe 120 stones each, which means that there's something like 100, 120 points, maybe 130 points available, because each stone takes away a point because it sits on the board. And so what's left? After we've paid 240 stones, we've got actually 120 points available on the board, which means you only need 60 points, more or less captures than the rest, but 60 points, 65 points, and you've won the game. And that's why it's so important as you're playing Go to try and keep some mental picture of what's going on the board. Where are the points? Where are those points located? Am I ahead? Am I behind? If I'm behind, I need to attack. If I'm ahead, I just need to hold on to what I've got, and I've won the game. As the proverb said, rich men don't pick fights. So that's something about the dynamics of the Go board and how it works. And I hope that makes it really clear that on a 19x19, those points lie around the edges in the green area. 53% of the board lies at the edge. It doesn't look like it, but it's the truth. On a 13x13, then it's actually 56%, even more, lies on those first 2 lines. And on a 9x9 board, 70% of the board 70% of the available points for the players lies on those two lines, which is why we play corners first, then we move to the sides, finally we fight for over the centre. As the proverb says, the corners are golden, the sides are silver, but the belly is straw. Okay, let's move on. So now we know where the points lie on the Go board. Let's see how that actually translates into the game in practice. So here's a 9x9 game, and all I'm looking at here are the opening moves, because the focus of this teaching lesson is opening moves, points and contact plays. So let's have a quick look. So what would I expect to see on a 9x9 game between two relative beginners? Black takes a corner. Why take the corner? We've just explained. Behind that corner there are almost 8 secure points for black. Points in the bank, so to speak. So, and those points sit here. We've just seen that. We know where they are. So if white takes another corner, again you're looking at white is actually making the same kind of points as black. White's actually saying, well, I really like these points, and black's saying, yeah, and I really like these points. Let's say white takes the diagonal. It's the same principle, it's the same mathematics, it works in the same way. So then black takes another corner. Why not? Remember, proverb, corner's golden, side silver, belly straw. So white takes the fourth corner. This is an entirely normal opening. Exactly what I'd expect to see. And now black has a choice. Black can either approach white's corner, or black can consolidate and solidify its own territory. Just for example, in this game, black moves out and actually pushes deep down the right side of the board to restrict white's ability to develop that into territory. And you can now see that black is starting to develop a larger territory than white. White chooses to block in that direction. I mean, equally we could imagine that white might choose to block in this direction. It's absolutely down to white, what white has in mind. And so black backs off, and then white approaches, and this is a perfectly normal output. What's happening now is, if I look at that board, I see that actually the two areas are relatively simple. So black is similar. Black has got something like this as potential territory, and white has got something like this. There's no real difference between the two territories, and so the opening now is almost over. One player could consolidate, but if it's, I would expect in this kind of game to see then black either attaching here to enlarge their territory, or making a more aggressive move. That's what I would expect to see. Okay, let's go and look at the next game. So now let's consider those same ideas, but this time on a 13x13 board. So similar approach. We know now that actually 56% of those points, the points available to the two players, lie out on lines 1 and 2. So what would I expect to see? First opening moves. Black takes a corner. Absolutely normal. That's where the points are. There's even more points behind black stone and white stone, but that's what I would expect to see. So white takes another corner, and black takes a third corner, and then white takes a corner. And those corners, they could be on the 4-4. I think as a beginner player, I would kind of recommend you stay with the 4-4 point, the star points as they're known. Although any of the other points that I've marked there on the board are playable. They absolutely are playable. If we looked at another alternative, those are the points. Black takes that top left hand side, white takes the lower side. Now black gets to make the first approach, and again I would expect an approach. Notice in this approach this isn't going to be a contact play, and I'll talk about contact plays in a little while. Black approaches, white stone, and white has a number of choices here. In this case white attaches, black comes up, and then white approaches. White could equally use this opportunity to make this kind of shape, but this might be a bit too good for black, because then black would get a second approach, and I hope you can see that now black's potential area here is actually much bigger than white's. That's what's going on in that kind of sequence, and that's why I would expect white to make an early approach in that kind of way. Finally, let's take a look at a full size go ban and what's going on here. There shouldn't be any surprises. Let's take a look. So again, I would expect always to see black take a corner to make a move. Remember, on the 19 by 19, it's the first 3 lines that are the important lines. It's these 3 around the edge of the board. That's where the points lie. That's what we saw on the previous diagrams. So I would expect first moves in the corners where the points are. And notice behind each of those points, if we're counting this out, we're going here, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 15 points sit behind a stone on the 4-4. And again, we talked earlier about the fact that in a game of Go, to win on a full-size board, you need just somewhere in excess of 60 points. Well, 15 points is a quarter. You're a quarter of the way there. If you can hold and secure those points in the corner, you're well on your way to winning. Let's look back at this game. So white takes a corner, black takes another corner, in this case the 3-4 point, but it actually doesn't matter very much at all. White could equally make the 4-4. White takes a corner, and again, I've just to show all of these points are available, the 3-4 or the 4-4. Black makes an approach, white makes a base. That would be a very, very, very normal kind of opening. And then black gets to make another move, and black might actually support that stone, develop that, and white make another approach, and so on. The key thing for you to take away from this video is corners, sides, centre. Throwing stones into the centre of the board in the opening is normally not a very good idea. If we look at this opening, yeah, we've seen that. And if we look at the alternative opening where the points are, black plays here, white plays here, black approaches, white makes a base, black comes back, very similar. Each time the approach stone approaches, your opponent makes a base, then you make a base for your stones, and then black solidifies that side. And probably in a game like this, at this point, white would say, well, it's now time for an invasion. We've done the opening moves, I'm going to come and invade your territory. That would be very normal. Okay, the final thing I want to look at in this video is to talk a little bit about contact plays. We see contact plays a lot with beginners. And stones fighting each other directly by bashing against each other. And you have to remember that in Go, the aim of Go, the goal of Go, is to surround more territory than your opponent. Killing or capturing stones, although a fantastic part of the game and hugely exciting, is actually just a means to a goal. It's a means to an end. It's not the end in itself. But often when we get caught up in the rush of the fight and the capture, we actually lose sight of that, and we get caught up either in chasing our opponent's stones across the board or in actually trying to save one of our own groups that's being attacked, and actually we lose sight of that bigger picture, that the game is won by the person that encloses the most territory. That's the key point. And the second thing, above all strategies in Go, the highest level strategy is to keep your own stones connected and separate your opponent into small groups, because small groups are weak. They have to make 2 eyes to live locally, whereas large groups have lots of eyes and lots of potential. So keep your own stones connected and cut your opponent into small sections. Above all else in Go, that is the highest level strategy. So let's look at some contact plays and what happens. So here's black. Black's sitting in the middle of the board. It's just there for illustrative purposes. It could be anywhere on the board, minding its own business. And notice that this black stone sitting here has got 4 liberties. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's just sitting there. And white comes up and bashes against it. It makes a contact play. Now, as a result of that contact play, black's now only got 3 liberties. But notice that white stone has also only got 3 liberties. And guess whose go it is? Well, of course it's black's go. So what does black do? Black hanes. And a hane is simply a diagonal move when you're already in contact with the stone. And now what's happening? This white stone has got 2 liberties. And each of the black stones has now got 3 liberties. So white's now on the defensive. White's got 2 stones with 3 liberties, and it's on its own, and it's got 2 liberties. It's almost as if you kind of, somebody standing outside a bar and you run up to them or bump into them and say, hey buddy, and then their friend steps out of the bar. There's suddenly 2 of them facing off against you, and although you started the aggression by contacting, you're suddenly on the back foot. So what does white do in this situation? Well, white could play elsewhere, play away, but then black's going to bring another friend into the fight, and now you are in trouble. I'm going to have to run away, and black can keep going. And that creates a shape, and I'm going to return to that shape in a moment. Let's take another look. Let's go through that same exercise down in the lower left corner. So black's there out on the 4-4, minding its own business. White comes and makes a contact play. Same story. They've each got 3 liberties now. And black's buddy turns up. So now white's got only 2 liberties, and the 2 black stones have got 3 each. Here they are. Let's just check them out. 1, 2, 3 for that one, and 4 here, 3, 4, 3 for that one, and they share that liberty. So white cuts. White really wants to fight here, so now everybody's got 2 liberties in this fight, and this is called a cross-cut fight, and it's an exciting part of Go. And so black gets the first Atari, and white extends, and in this game black extends. And now white can do something called start a ladder. And the shape that's important in the ladder shape is this one. So what does black do now? Well, black's in Atari. If black doesn't respond right away, the next white stone played here kills black. So black extends. Now black's got 2 liberties. But whose go is it? It's white's. So what does white do? Puts black in Atari. And black goes, yeah, but I'm going to run away. White goes, okay, you run, but you ain't going nowhere. And this is called a ladder attack or a staircase attack because of the shape it makes that looks like a set of stairs. So black runs out, white Ataris, black runs out, white Ataris, black runs out, white Ataris. You can see this is going nowhere for black because what's going to happen is the edge of the board is going to happen. But let's play it out. So black gets 2 liberties, white Ataris, black, white, black, white. Black runs out his Atari and white kills everything. Now this is a complete disaster. So this is, let's go all the way back to there, this is what happens in a ladder attack. But let's look down here. Let's look at that same attack, but this time black has a stone on the other side of the board. And I'm doing this on a 9x9 board. The same is true for every size of Go board. This could happen on a 19x19 Go board, and you've got a stone way across on the other side. So this time black goes, okay, I'm in a ladder, but I don't mind. So white says, gotcha. There you are, you're in the ladder. But black says, I've got a friend over there. So black extends. I've got 2 liberties. White says, yeah, I got you in a ladder. You're an Atari. Black says, I'm extending. White Ataris. Black's only got 1 liberty and will die if white plays at F5. Black comes out. White Ataris again. Black comes out. White Ataris again. And black comes out. And now at this point, notice black has now got 3 liberties. And because of those 3 liberties, white is in real trouble. So white tries to Atari and black goes, I don't care, I'm no longer in Atari, I've got 2 liberties, so I'm going to cut through here. And what that set up is what we call a double Atari. So that stone's in Atari, and black's saying to white, which stone do you like? You can't have both. And so white says, I'll keep that one, and black plays here. And now this stone is in Atari. And so black says, white, which stone do you like? And white says, well, I like that one. And black says, fair enough. But now I'm going to cut through here, and I'm now going to Atari this one and this one. White takes there, and black breaks through, and Atari's another. As you can see, white's position is completely disintegrated. Black is in the centre in one large group, and white has now been chopped into one group here, a stone here, a group here, and a group here. White's been chopped into 4. Black's, apart from the stones in the lower left, are connected. It's a disaster. So that's what happens if you've got a in this case, a friendly ladder breaker in the path of the ladder. What happens if you've got an opposing stone in the path of the ladder breaker? Well, this again, I'm afraid, goes bad. It's the same as the edge of the board. If black comes out here, white Ataris, black runs, 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 black dies. What's the takeaway? You need to be aware of what happens at this point, and it's this shape, and it's very common in contact fights. This shape followed by the Atari. When that shape happens, you're in a ladder, and you then have to read across, diagonally across the board, to see what is going on. If there's no stones there, you're going to die. If it's one of your own stones there, then your luck's in, and actually the ladder is a bad ladder for white, and black will survive and chop white up. So white must not pursue the ladder if there's a ladder breaker in place. But if it's a white stone, then it's good news for white, and white will kill the black stones, and black must not pursue the ladder. Black must give up that stone and play somewhere else, where maybe get some profit here and say, okay, you're an Atari, you better take that stone. White takes the stone, and then black comes out. Black's lost a stone, but actually made some profit elsewhere, and that idea of sacrifice and exchange is critical to Go. Okay, I'll stop there for this video. That's enough. That's a little bit on where the points lie on the Go board, why we play corners, sides and center, and contact plays and ladders. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up on this one, and if you like what I'm doing with this, hit subscribe. Okay, see you again soon. Bye for now.